Blog Talk.
You are now listening to The Urban Wire, brought to you by the Urban Coalition of Freelance Writers, where we shine a light on issues impacting the urban community. Hit us up at www.youtube.com/COFW or check us out on MySpace at www.myspace.com/COFW.
All right, we are back with episode 23 of the Urban Wire. Today we're going to do a little quick show. I'm waiting for my guests to call in. We're just going to, come in with a little bit of community dialogue as it relates to relationships, race, and reality. I think it's something that we don't really talk about. It's something that we try to avoid. And it's like one of the like I've used this term before. It's the pink elephant in the room. So we're gonna definitely talk about that today. We're gonna see if our guest comes in pretty soon. If not, I'll just talk on it for a little bit and I'll just wrap the show up. But once again, you can always join us in our chat room, which I'm opening that up right now. It's officially open now. If you want to log in to our website at www.blogtalkradio.com/UCOFW, or you can call in with your questions, comments at 646-915-8200. Once again, that's 646-915-8200. Once again, the topic is race, relationships, and reality. So we're going to go to a couple of songs, and when we get back, we're going to get into our topic really quick. We're going to come with you with the mega remix or the mega mix, but as we always do. So hit us up on this beautiful Saturday afternoon, special edition of the Urban Wire. All right, we are back to the Urban Wire. Today's topic, once again, will be dealing with race, relationships, and reality. And we're going to go to our line. I think this is our special guest for today. 765-602. This is James.
Yeah, it is.
All right, welcome back again to the show. We want to thank you again for coming on again and sharing with us today. Today we're going to be doing a controversial topic, dealing with the things that I just mentioned, and we're just going to go with the flow and kind of see what happens. But I kind of wanted to talk about this or delve into this issue because it's an issue that how should I put it? As I used this term before, it's like the pink elephant in the room, but today everybody's on the edge when it deals with discussing racial issues because we now are living in a racially charged society where, race is at the forefront of a lot of things, especially in the news, politics, and even in our personal lives. So, I want to thank you for coming on here, and I guess my first question I really want to ask you is, and we've discussed racism and race as far as it pertains to relationships, but do you see race playing a big role as far as our everyday lives, as far as our relationships with people, interacting with people, the economy, political scene? I mean, do you think that it plays a bigger role than most people will admit? And what do you think about people who claim that there's, racist issues? What do you feel about that?
Really, I don't really feel a certain kind of way about it though, really, because I think that it doesn't play as big a role as what people think that it does play. But I think that a lot of people kind of like try to make it insignificant. They try to make it seem as if it's not even there at all, or that it doesn't have a role to begin with. And I think that that's kind of like, I think that people fool themselves into thinking that. I think it's a comfortable way to be, to think that it doesn't play a big role in the things, but it does. And then it also plays a big role in, a lot of people had stereotypes of how they feel about, certain individuals. So when dealing with someone, a lot of times they'll have guards up to prepare themselves for what people stereotypically say, this particular culture does, or that particular culture does, and this is just their way of doing things. A lot of people will, try to brace themselves for that, especially when they're dealing with interracial relationships. When you're dealing with relationships where it has two people of the same race, I think that it's a lot easier to be in a relationship with somebody that's the same as you are, just because a lot of times the upbringing is kind of similar and the culture is the same, so it's, it's not as abrasive. But to answer your question, I think that it does play a part. I don't think it plays as big as a part as people think, but I think that you would be a fool to try to pretend like a problem just doesn't exist at all.
Yeah. Now, and we're going to get into the relationship part, but another thing that, another reason why I really want to do this show, I mean, in light of, things that have been going on in the media as far as, how race always comes up, like during, in politics, especially during this time where, a lot of people are trying to, figure out who's going to take the nomination for president next year and stuff like that. So you start to see a lot of these things, like a lot of people's true colors come out. And especially with the whole entire Donald Trump situation, I really think that it really causes us to take a realistic view of race and race relations here in the United States, and how people still view us, particularly in the African American community, how they still have these negative stereotypes, these negative feelings towards us as people. And it really causes us to step back and say, hey, we really need to start using our vote and our power to to keep certain people like this out of our government. And like you said, it's people I don't know if you ever noticed this for a while, people were kind of colorblind. Everybody was talking about being colorblind and this, that, and the other. Everybody was acting like we were moving so far, ahead in race relations and stuff like that. But it seems to me in the past 4 or 5 years, racism has kind of reared its head again. And I don't know, have you kind of felt like that, even not only on the political scene, even in daily interactions with people are becoming less tolerant now, and you would think that with us moving into, moving past the first decade of the new millennium, you would think that we would be over these situations. But have you seen racism, I don't know, have you seen a lot of racial issues, starting to come back into the, scene again, or do you think it's always been there, but just swept under the rug?
You know what, in my opinion, I'm going to just say that, really, the way people are going about doing it is a lot differently in today's day and age. Actually, nothing has really changed. Absolutely nothing has changed. Nothing has changed since, 1950. It's been the same racism. It's just the way that people go about doing it because, it was socially acceptable to be overtly racist. It was socially acceptable to say racist things in public setting. It was socially acceptable to discriminate in public setting. Now it's not so much. It's taboo. But instead of, losing the racism, what people have done is become more efficient at masquerading what it actually really is. And a lot of times they just do that so that, they can pretend that it's not what it is. A lot of people will make racist remarks, and a lot of people will just have racist feelings. And, a lot of times they'll just say, well, this is just my preference, or, a lot of times they won't even speak or elaborate on exactly what's going on with them. But then again, those are the people that you got to watch for, because those are the same people that in 1950 were, burning churches. Those were the same people who were, getting in public forums and just being openly honest about their dislike of, other cultures. It's all ignorance when it boils down. But in 2011, people have just got more discreet, But I mean, it's still there. I mean, racism has not gone anywhere, and I mean, it's a deep-rooted issue. And and what ends up happening is that we never get to the root of the issue. It's like a weed that grows, and all we're doing is just picking the flower off the dandelion. We didn't even go to the root. So the weeds will continue to grow. And then as you have this new generation that comes up, and they start understanding how to be, more socially acceptable with racism, because it's a certain line that you can cross where it's not socially acceptable. And the funny thing about it is that once you cross that line of socially acceptable racism, even racist people will point the finger and say, ooh, you did a bad thing, and they'll harp on you. Racist people themselves will point that finger and almost act as if they haven't been guilty of committing the same sin. But once you stay above that socially acceptable level of racism, everything is fine and dandy, and there's no backlash for that. But people have to be more conscious when you're dealing with people. You got to be willing to educate them and let them know, this is offensive and what you're doing is not right. And you also got to stand up for yourself and let people know, this is not cool. And, you're being racist, and no, you're not being overtly racist. No, you didn't call me the N-word, or no, you didn't just make a ethnic joke about my, you didn't make any jokes about my ethnicity or any comments that were offensive overtly, but you did something that definitely is racist and shows that you have a ignorance of differences and how we can actually come together and be, one American culture and not just a country full of a lot of different cultures.
Now we were just, and that kind of brings up something that I've noticed too. Today, like I noticed that the new racist, it's more like they try to, I think we're still dealing with racism, but I think it's more economic now as well. And like when I say economic, I see how a lot of people will try to pitch things to, and I'm speaking specifically to the African American community, because I can get into the Latino community and how they're being targeted today. You can watch the news, see all the legislation that's trying to pass to discriminate against them. But as far as the African American community is, when I say economic, slant towards racism, we see how a lot of entities come into our community or try to cater certain things to our community and businesses in our community, but they suck all the life out of our community and they give us inferior products, inferior services, but yet they do not invest in our community. They do not take those resources and put them back in the community to benefit us in any type of way. Now, have you noticed that?
I mean, absolutely. That's the way that this country was built. That's one thing that people always seem to forget, is that this country was built on using someone else and basically making $1 out of 15 cents. This is American capitalism in its truest form. Okay, so what these people do is they go and they market to people, and they're going to give inferior products, they're going to give inferior service. That's just the way that it is. Because if they were to give us what we actually deserve, they would be spending too much money, and it wouldn't be profitable. So at that point, what they're going to do is try to make the most money that they can, and they can't make the most money off of, people who don't educate themselves. Now, you got people who go out, and you got people who actually, study communities, Latino communities. You have people that go out and they study Asian communities. You got people that go out and they study the black community. And they study and they figure out the things that we are willing to spend our money on, and then they market those things to us. The problem with that is that when you take money away from a community like that and you don't put it back into a community, you're actually, it's not a business move that will have a lot of longevity. And I say that because you're taking away from this community and you're not giving it back, okay? And it would be the same as if you planted a tree and you picked all the apples off, but you never watered or fed it. Eventually, that tree is going to stop producing. That community is going to stop having wealth to spend. Now, right now, you know, blacks spend 3 or 4 times as much as, I don't know exactly what the statistic is, so I don't want to say anything that's completely dogmatic here, but blacks spend a lot more money, I mean, dollar for dollar, person for person, than the white community.
Yeah.
This is just evident, you know. It is, you know. I mean, we're a big market. That's why these big companies like Sprite, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, that's why these huge companies, and you know, and record companies as well, and tobacco companies as well, that's why they spend billions and billions of dollars on these urban, hip-hop, jazz, R&B influenced commercials with, you know, all black cast and different things like that. And it's kind of disheartening that these people are making all this money off the black community and they're not putting it back in. As a personal experience, you know, I kind of have gotten disheartened when I went to places like, when I went to Washington, D.C., and I went to the BET headquarters. And when I walked in there, and it was not very many black people that worked for BET, the actual network itself. And then the only black people that actually did work there at that time was Bob Johnson and a couple of other high up exec network heads, and then everybody else in the in between was white. And then you had pretty much in front of the camera, which I say is the bottom level, in front of the camera. In front of the camera was 100% black. Behind the camera was about 99.8% white. And I felt like that was a little bit disheartening to me. For them to make the most of their money doing black programming, black television shows, black networking, I'm saying to myself, you are the media and you control the images and the things that we see as a community, and basically you're deciding what's good for us, in your opinion, and you're not even of our culture. So, you know, that kind of was disheartening. And the same thing with Radio 1. When I went to 96.3 for the first time, I went with a buddy of mine who happens to be a voice. I'm not going to say his name. He's black, but he's a voice on that radio station. And I'm familiar with a lot of those people on there, and a lot of them are my friends. They are good people. I'm not trying to downplay them at all. But when I went in there and I saw, you know, how many people that were there that actually, you know, weren't of our culture at all, I just kind of felt like that was kind of strange, because I say, you know, 99.9% of the music that you play, 99% of the commercials that you play, 99.9% of the ads and the programming that you run is strictly catered to this community, and it's by people of our own. And then when I see the people that's actually running this show, that's not reflective at all. So, you know, I wonder, but, you know, part of this, as far as those things go, I blame on, and, you know, a lot of people know me for being real, man. I don't really like to sugarcoat anything. It seems like, it seems like for a long amount of time, I'm not trying to downplay anybody with this, but it seems that, you know, white people in particular, who I'm speaking about right now, it seems that they have had a lack of culture to identify with as their own. So a lot of times what I see with them is I see that they will turn around and they will, you know, they will kind of adopt another culture, whatever they feel is most relevant to them in their struggle or whatever their situation is. So they'll adopt a culture. So I see a lot of, you know, young white guys and girls, and, you know, I see that they have kind of embraced the black culture. And I don't have no problem with that, but I see them embracing other cultures too, Latino culture, and I see them doing that. And I wonder, you know, a lot of times I say they don't have their own culture to identify with a lot of times. And when they do identify with their own culture, a lot of times it just comes off as, you know, as being racist. Whenever they're ethnocentric, it just comes off as kind of like white pride, which is kind of like a taboo issue still. Yeah.
But you know what, man, I'm going to throw this in here real quick, and then I'm going to jump back to something that you mentioned a few minutes ago. I really think that, and this is another issue that I've noticed too. Why is it that when blacks have a sense of pride, or we have certain cultural black events, or we celebrate Martin Luther King Day or Black History Month, why is it we're viewed as us being militant? But every other culture, you see the Irish, they have their day as far as St. Patrick's Day, Cinco de Mayo, you know, that's being celebrated by the Hispanic. You have all these other cultural events today that are celebrated, and it's looked at as a cultural event. But when blacks have an event, it's looked at as we're trying to be exclusive, or we're trying to be militant, or we're trying to go against the grain. Why do you think that? And then, and this is something else I want you to answer that question. And then there's something else, like you mentioned earlier, about how we spend so much money and this, that, and the other. Do you think that has a lot to do with our need to fit in and our low self-esteem, and how society has made us feel like we have to keep up with the Joneses in order to be relevant or be even seen or accepted?
I absolutely do. I mean, that's what it is, you know. A lot of times, I mean, you know, a lot of times people will spend that kind of money to make themselves feel better about the situation that they're in, you know, but at the end of the day, you can't buy yourself into a better class. I mean, you can dress yourself up real nice, and you can go and you can get all of those labels, and you can go and you can get all of those things. You can buy the nicest things in the world. But, I mean, if you're just not in that tax bracket, you're not in that tax bracket. I mean, you can't fool the bank, you know. You can't fool yourself. You make it fool other people, and I think that's what it all boils down to. But, I mean, there's a lot of frustration that goes on with that, too. Frustration and anger. And people.
Sometimes we do have the money, but I think you can't buy yourself into a social circle, too. If they don't want to accept you, they don't want to accept you. You can be, a lot of times, and I've noticed this a lot about a lot of black people. You know, me and you, we hang out some of the same places. We see a lot of black people that do have it going on. You know, they're very attractive, you know, very well put together, that, you know, they may have education, they may have, you know, decent money, but they're trying to fit into a social circle. They're trying to fit in with individuals that are oftentimes not even on their level, or even if they're on their level, they will not accept you, because a lot of times it does not have anything to do with your money.
Right. I mean, you know what?
So
I
I
think
really
it's
believe that. I think if they don't want to accept you in their circle because you don't look like them, you're just not going to get in no matter what you do.
Oh, well, that's apparent. But you know what? I think that it's really just I don't think it's a bad thing, man. I really think it's a cultural difference, though. I think it's a cultural difference in how I think it's wealth management, and I think that it's just a cultural difference. And I think that, you know, other races, particularly Caucasians, I think they deal with race. I mean, I think they deal with wealth differently, is what I think. I think that they have been grown to, you know, to prioritize in a different kind of way, and I think that savings is a big. I think that savings is a big, you know, big part of their culture, and I think that also spending their money on things that are bigger investments is what I say. Bigger investments, sort of like houses and cars and things like that. I think that that's what they spend their money on. I think that culturally we're different.
A lot to do with education, because we weren't taught those things. And then you got to look at it like this. And the thing about this is, like, we got to realize, and this is not, like I said, I'm far from racist, but I'm dealing with reality.
Right.
We have to look at it like this. White people have already had a head start on us.
Right.
They've already had, you know, they're far ahead of us for the simple fact that we economically, we weren't taught these things. You know, secondly, a lot of the inventions that we have and a lot of things that we came up with, they were stolen from our people. A lot of the everyday things that we use and see and you know, that we experience on a daily basis were created by black people, by, you know, so-called African Americans.
Right.
And a lot of the slaves even were very inventive, very bright, intelligent, but just because they were the property of that slave masters, they owned those rights and those, you know, and those patents on a lot of those inventions that they came up with. So we have been robbed, we've been raped, we've been stolen, taken advantage of, and we're trying to play catch up at this point.
Right. I mean, and that's what I was telling you when I was saying. That's exactly what I was saying when I was like, that's American capitalism in its truest form, because that's the point of it. To use somebody for your profit. To use somebody else where they lose and you gain. That's how it all started. You know what I'm saying? That was the whole context of slavery. We got somebody that's going to work for us and make me gain. You do the work and I do the gain. That's how it goes. That's just how capitalism is. You know what I mean? So when you're dealing with that and you understand that dynamic, it's kind of easy to see exactly why certain people are targeted. Certain people, they have this saying. They say, only the strongest survive. The strong people stay strong by feeding off of the weak. But as long as you as long as you allow yourself to continue to be weak, that's exactly what you're going to end up dealing with, is making somebody else money. That's why, when I went to school, I went for business, because I felt like, that would be the only way that I could really be able to be successful and have peace of mind at the same time. Is being able to do it for myself, and the labor that I put in is actually reflective of my successfulness. How much hard work I put in is how much I actually get out. That's why. I did that, but, to hit on what you was talking about as far as getting used, it is what it is, and I say at this point, the best thing for people to do is really educate themselves and know when they can see somebody is actually using them for that in that kind of way. I'm very conscious over how I spend my money, though. I don't think that it's a bad thing how we spend our money, though. I really don't think it's a bad thing. I think that it's just different, and I think that the difference scares people, because I think that whites, they focus their money on saving so much, and they focus their life so much on career, and they focus so much on saving for winter and putting away for the later years. And it's no secret that a lot of blacks live for the moment. They live in present day. The problem with that is that I think
why
that.
Why do you think that is?
Number one, I think that it's just nobody has really been taught wealth management. Number one, and then number two, I think that I just think that it's just not something that because you never know, and that's why a lot of my money. I'm not really real big on the saving thing either. I'm not gonna lie to you. I put money away. And I'm putting money away for my retirement if I ever do get there. But you got to realize that's a gamble, too, because we're not guaranteed to get old. We are guaranteed to die, but we're not guaranteed to get old. And you can't take anything that you made in this world with you, especially me being gay. I don't have children. I don't have beneficiaries. I don't have people to pass my money on to. So I'm spending it in right now, and I'm having fun with right now. And I'm not so much concerned with what's going on in the future, because anything could happen. It's a good idea to plan for it,
right?
But I think it's just a difference in cultures. I think we live in the moment a little bit more as far as economically. We spend our money a little bit faster, and we burn it up on a little bit more, flashier things. The things that you can see, the things that you can visibly see. I don't see no problem with it, though. I just think it's a little bit different. Now, a lot of people will turn their nose up. I noticed that.
Well, I don't see anything wrong with spending. I'm with you, but we need to be more mindful where we spend our money, because a lot of people don't have appreciation. They don't have an appreciation what we can offer and bring to the table. That's why you can go into certain places. And my thing is, any smart business person, I don't care where the money comes from, it's green money, and it's going to spend like anybody else's money.
Right.
But see, we'll go into, and I hate to use this analogy, but I'm gonna go there because everybody knows. Like we're so caught up in being consumers that we'll be willing to go any place and take any type of abuse.
Treatment.
For example, a lot of women, they'll go to these Chinese or these Korean-owned beauty supply stores, which okay, that's fine, you got your hustle. But first of all, they don't respect you when you go in the store.
Right.
They follow you around. They think you steal something. They talk to you any kind of way, and they're not giving back to the community. So my thing is, we're so caught up in being consumers that we'll spend that dollar someplace where they don't appreciate us.
In a minute, because they have what we want, and we're willing to take any kind of treatment to get it, man. I mean that's absolutely true.
We got power. We really do.
Yeah, I'm conscious over what I do as far as that's concerned, though. I mean, I'm very conscious because I don't just spend my money anywhere, and I'll be the first one to throw an attitude up in the air.
I may be one person, but one person can spread the word, and that's X amount of dollars that you won't be getting from me.
Exactly.
One thing I don't play when I go, and I'm not one of these. And see, this is what I'm saying, because that's a particular person. I'm not one of these black people that's gonna get around certain people and act a certain way and act bougie and then take any kind of thing off of whoever because, I want to be a consumer. I'm not going to be like that. And then get around like other black people and talking all this militant crap. I just don't do that.
Are you talking about somebody? Well, no, I'm not going to say that. But it is a few people that do that. I do not. I mean, I know a few, more than a few actually who do that, but they don't practice what they preach. And I don't really respect a lot of the stuff that they say, but I mean, that's why I've been trying to.
And see, and that's another thing. I want to get on these so-called leaders or these so-called want-to-be conscious people that they have a lot of good stuff to say. They have a lot of good knowledge, actually, that they're spitting. But at the same time, we match up their lifestyle with what they preaching, and it's nowhere near that. It sounds like they say it looks good on paper, but really the reality of it is you're not living what you're saying. And then you want to attack the people that are living what they're saying, and you want to say that they're too abrasive. You get around, yeah. And I just don't understand, where is it getting you it's like you're practicing a spirit of schizophrenia. Or you have multiple personalities because you talk militant around the black folks, and then you bowing down to the white folks. I'm kind of confused. Some people do that, and I just want to know when are we going to stop doing that? Like,
I mean, you got to realize that they can't help it though, man. They can't help it because they haven't taught themselves how to break that. I keep using this phrase, man. It's called the psychological chains of slavery. It's not no physical, tangible chain, but it's just your mentality. And they can't break themselves out of their mentality, especially when they're right there in the midst of the moment. A lot of times they can't take themselves out of that and say, you know what, this is not going to work with me. I'm not going to, subject myself to this. I'm not going to do this. A lot of times they don't do that. A lot of times they don't do that, because it still psychologically has a hold on them. But, for people like...
a lot of them aren't bad people.
No, they're not bad people at all. They just confused. I mean, it's what they say is easier said than done. A lot of them can tell you the smart thing to do. A lot of them can say, this is the right thing to do or this is the good thing to do. But then when it's actually time to execute and put action into the play, they're not going to do it. Because they don't want to disenfranchise themselves from the people that they are trying to win their affection. And see, by being abrasive and calling these people, you can't win their affection at the same time. You can't do that at the same time and tell somebody, you're actually doing something I don't like, but please still be my friend. No, they're too scared of losing their affection, so they're not going to do nothing to push them away. When they get into the situation where they have to, basically have conflict, they're not going to do it. It's absolutely not going to happen. But then when they're away from them, of course they're going to be militant. Of course they're going to tell you all of this stuff about how they, lies. It just sounds like lies to me. Yeah, it's me. I mean, that's call a spade a spade. You're lying.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
These are the same people that want to, and then it's as bad as it sounds like, the people that do this, they're actually discriminating against people like themselves.
I mean, they are, but they don't realize it at the time, but you have to avoid those people, though. You have to avoid those kind of people. You have a lot of people have a lot of power.
They'll push you out to the forefront. They'll push you out to the forefront. They'll say, yeah, you need to do this, this, and that. But they'll sit back. They'll push you out in the forefront for you to get attacked while they stand back because they're too coward to do what they want you to do, something that they can't do. But they want to push you out to the forefront so you can get attacked, so you can get the results that they want.
Right.
I don't know if that's making any sense, but
it makes a lot of sense. But a lot of times, they're not willing to do that because they do have that it's cowardly. is what it is. You know, they don't have the courage to do it, but at the same time, a lot of
they want to hold on to that little bit of that little morsel of social respect that they claim to still have.
Well, I mean,
and notice I say social.
Yeah, a lot of them don't have respect at all, socially or in any kind of other form. But you know, what I do is I make sure that whenever, especially if I got a situation like that, I'm always going to put it on display so that other people can see it. You know, a lot of times I say this, man, and it sounds kind of funny, but sometimes sometimes you have to basically conflict in public so that other people can see and take note and observe. Because what I want other people to do is know that you can be comfortable and do that, you know what I mean? And you can do it in a certain kind of way. You don't have to do it in the wrong kind of way. You can do it in a certain kind of way and still get your respect at the same time.
Right.
You know, and a lot of times people don't have that. They don't have that, I'm not going to say role model at all, but they don't have that. You know what I mean? They don't have that to take inspiration from because they've never seen anybody do it before. So then after they see somebody do it, you know, maybe they'll be more comfortable trying it themselves and saying, hey, this is not cool. You know what I mean? And we can still be cool, but you just can't do this anymore. That's simple.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or letting people know, I bet you didn't know you offended me with that. But let me tell you, I find that offensive. And, you know, if you continue to do that, then we can't have a relationship anymore. Sometimes you have to use it.
And that's what being adult is all about. You know, that's what
it's just maturity. That's it.
Yeah.
It's maturity.
Yeah.
And it's being a man is what it is.
Right.
It's being a man, you know, but then again, you know, we dealing with who we dealing with, and a lot of them don't think that they are really men. So, don't know. Yeah. Don't know. But what I do know is that, you know, seeing somebody else do it definitely makes it a little bit, you know, less unnerving.
Right.
Okay,
I wanted to just to throw this in here because I know we did this show at the last minute. But anybody that's listening live, feel free to call in at 646-915-8200. Definitely feel free to hit us up on our Facebook page. We do have a fan page on there now. We're working on our website currently, and we're also on YouTube. So make sure you go over there and check that out. For those who have YouTube accounts, go to UCOFW, type that in, and subscribe to us. A lot of times we'll take excerpts from the show and post those up, and also we're going to be doing more videos this summer. And then coming up here, I gotta get it arranged. I know Brothers United, we're trying to get something set up to where they're going to come on the show. So make sure you guys be on the lookout for that. We're on Twitter. You can keep up with us on there. And just spread the word. You know, we're going to be coming on regularly Monday and Thursday. And then every now and then I'm going to try to get James on here, you know, on a Saturday and stuff like that, and spit some knowledge, you know, that we really need to know as a community and as a people. Because, to me, this is a topic that a lot of people do not want to touch. So, but yeah, so getting back to what we were discussing, because we kind of hit on this on the last show as far as relationships are concerned. What is, as far as like where we stand as a people, do you think a lot of times, and particularly in the LGBT community, do you think that black men, because I was just talking to one of my friends, and he was dating a guy. They were together for 4 years, and he was talking about how the guy that he was with was extremely attractive, and he used to buy a lot of stuff, material things, electronics, clothes, and stuff like that. He never had money to pay his bills. And I told him, I asked my friend, matter of fact, it's my friend Michael. You know, he's a regular host on the show, but he had to work day. And I told him, I said, do you think that this has a lot to do with his low self-esteem? Of course, he may look physically together, and he may have all these things, but do you think that he's trying to keep up with appearances because of low self-esteem? He says, well, I don't think it's that, because I think he had a little bit too much self-esteem. I said, you're talking about material things, you know, but do you think that it was something beyond that? You know, and do you think that that's a problem with a lot of the gay black men or just a lot of black people in general? They have low self-esteem, so they try to buy, like we were talking about earlier, they try to buy themselves into a social circle, or they try to date. They feel good if they get any attention from someone white, or because we were discussing this before. So what are your feelings on that whole situation there?
Yeah, that's a pretty lovely question. You know what?
I know.
Really?
I went all around the map on that.
Nah,
But,
I mean, it's a loaded question because it's a hot topic. Is really what it is. It's a loaded question. It's a hot topic. It's a hot issue because these are the things that a lot of people don't know, and a lot of people do this, and they don't look at themselves in the mirror when they're doing this because a lot of it is subconscious. And I keep saying, breaking the psychological chains of slavery. A lot of that is subconscious. Okay, but people will, by any means necessary. And a lot of people who do that are really just looking for acceptance. They just want to feel accepted. Okay, so they're going to use any of their resources, whether that be financial, economic, whether that be I'm using my finances to buy the things that you think are cool, so if I have them, you'll think I'm cool, or whether that be, you know, these are the things that, you know, you like sexually, or
even
talking about relationships,
right?
Or
even giving up your body.
Or even giving up your body or sexually, because a lot of these people have, you know, a lot of people, you know, it's no secret. As far as race goes, a lot of, you know, the sexual chemistry is, you know, focused on that, okay? And a lot of people, what I found is I talk to black guys who deal with white guys, and they say, well, these white guys, they all want me to be this kind of way. They all want me to be a thug, or they all want me to be dominant, or they all want me to be this type of person, and I'm really just not naturally that type of person. I'm tired of trying to be that, you know. And then I bump into these other people that's on the flip side of this interracial relationship, and, you know, the white guys, like, I don't want to be about them. I don't want to be submissive. I don't want to be this, and I'm tired of people looking at me like they can just treat me like I'm their toy, or they're this, or they're that, you know. But then again, these are the things that, you know, some of these people think that you desire, so they play up to that for your acceptance. It is what it is. Whenever you're trying to get something from somebody, and this is, I read this book a lot of times. I don't know if anybody ever has heard of it, but it's called The 48 Laws of Power. They say that a powerful person appeals to another person's self-interest when they want something out of that person. So when you want something from somebody, you're supposed to appeal to what they actually like. And then in that way, you can masquerade yourself and get the things that you actually truly desire. I'll give you an example. If you're dealing with somebody who, let's say, he likes apples. Okay, now this is I'm just creating a scenario. Let's say you're dealing with somebody, he likes apples. He has an infatuation with apples. Okay, now let's say this person actually has oranges, has no apples, but he has oranges. I come around with a bag of apples, okay? When I come around with my bag of apples, I'm going to take all of his oranges from him because he's so tied up in consuming the apples that I brought around. That I can basically take the oranges, the bananas, the pears, the peaches, and everything else, and he's not going to realize it because he's so consumed in his own self-interest. That's what a powerful person does, and I think that that's what people do subconsciously is they play into people's desires and their interests to get their acceptance because their acceptance is what they truly desire. And, you know, whatever it is that is their interest, that's what they're willing to give up.
Wow.
Like you said, whether that be, you know, the cool things that I buy, the cool clothes that I buy, the way that I act, the way that I talk, the way that I dress, the way that my whole entire entity and being and doing me, my charisma, my personality, whatever. You know, a lot of people do that, and they're not doing that for themselves. They're not being true to themselves. They're being the person that someone else wants them to be. Me, I can't do that because that's tiresome. I mean, I tried that at one point in time in my life, but, you know, me at 26, I know now that I can't be anybody but myself. Now, there's some people who are going to enjoy me for who I am. There's some people who are not. I see people, especially in the LGBT community, I see people all the time that it's like, you know, they are 40, 50 years old, and they're still being who somebody else wants them to be. You know, it's no secret. I can go on the Taboo Street on any given day and see somebody in their mid-50s, 40s, still doing Hollister and Abercrombie and Fitch and sandals and stuff like that. Now, that's not you. You see what I'm saying? That's really not you. That's not who you are. And I bump into people at the same time when I go into the 10, and I may see somebody in there that's 40, 50 years old, and that's true to me. I don't know that they're 40 or 50 years old because they're dressed like they're 25. So when they tell me their age and they say, I'm 45, or they say, I'm 37 or something like that, I'll say, wow, I wouldn't have ever known. Because you are still trying to appeal to other people's self-interest and not being who you are. You should have grown out of that a long time ago. As a matter of fact, that's not even your generation. What you're doing isn't even the generation that you grew up in. But, it is what it is. I notice it all the time. Me, myself, I do what makes me feel good. I don't really care. If you don't like me, you don't like me. I'm not concerned. I don't need anybody's,
Like they always because one person don't like you, or a raggedy group of people don't like you, you got all these other people in the world. It's not the end of the world. Like I said, you have to find your own niche. You have to, do what makes you happy. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that has to live with yourself. And this is something that I've noticed too, how a lot of people, and I don't really see it as much in the black community, but I've noticed this with the white community. And we've discussed before how I know some of them have to be miserable having to live up to standards because they can't date who they want to date because they're so caught up in what their friends and family are going to think. Not even family. A lot of them are so more caught up in what their friends think about. Like, cause I know a lot of them, they may be into dating interracially, but they're so concerned about what their friends think that they have to kind of like date. It's almost like they have to go through a screening process in order to date, or even if they just want to, little buddy to, get together with, like they have to go through a screening process almost.
But you know what, a lot of it is, but you can't just say that. I don't want to, disagree with you because I agree with you to a certain extent, but you can't just say that because I deal with black people like that all the time, though. I deal with black people that I always want to, they'll turn their nose up at. If I'm dealing with somebody who is black, it's fine, it's acceptable. If I deal with somebody who's white, I get all the comments. He like white boys. He like this.
Yeah,
or, they get this, saying a little disrespectful stuff. But the difference between me, like I said, I'm a little bit different. Not to say that I'm better, but I'm a little bit different because I really don't care what somebody think about me. I truly don't. And I think that more people need to be like that because if more people really stop caring about what other people think about them, they can get back to themselves. You have to do a lot of self-reflecting, Now, I went through, you personally know my whole situation and my whole struggle. I went through a long period of my life where everybody hated me for what I did. You see what I'm saying? Everybody. So I was so used to it, I just quit caring. I don't even care anymore, And then when that brought me into my adult life, it was like that's what helped me. You know what I mean? That's what had me 1 foot ahead and not get into all of that because people stress themselves out about those type of things. They say, I can't do this. My friend is going to, talk about me, or what will they think? What will they say? And they will have comments, and they'll do this and they'll do that. And, me, on the other hand, my friends, I choose my friends very carefully, and it's hard to get into my circle of friends. But once you are in my circle of friends, I can guarantee that you are a person who accepts me for who I truly am, the good and the bad, what you perceive to be good and what you perceive to be bad. People have to watch. The best thing that we could do at this point, especially me and you, the best thing that we can do at this point, and anybody who's listening, the best thing that you can do at this point is be that role model. And people use that word, and they think that you have to be, so grand and so great. You can be an everyday person and be a role model. All you have to do is put the things that are right into action. And that's what me and you need to do. We need to step it up, and we need to start putting this stuff into action, and we need to start showing people, a different way of doing things. I'm not going to say good because good is a very subjective word, and so is normal.
Right.
But we have to show people a different way of doing things. We have to be active, man. We need to get out there, and we need to start showing people. We need to start having shows like this blog and these topics and stuff like that. This is good for people who listen because people can actually educate themselves and get somebody else's point of view. We need to go to, like, when we had that conversation about when we had the show with the members of Indie Pride that was there. We need to go and we need to show up and we need to make our presence be felt. We need to, make our faces be seen and make our presence be felt and make our words be understood so that people can become more accepting, and we can actually be proactive about this and not just, sit around and talk about the things that we see as wrong and the things that, we see that should be different. We got to be proactive. So that's what I encourage anybody that's listening.
I urge people here, even on a bigger level, large scale level. We have an NAACP chapter here, and it's only going to be as long as we make it. Like, if we don't show up to those meetings, which I'm going to get that information and share, which I think they have them every first Saturday or something of the month, I forget, but I'm going to get that information because our chapter here in Indianapolis, I'm going to keep it real with you, it's very weak. And I think that it has to do a lot with the participation out there, and we have to make it strong. We have to get behind these organizations that fight for social change, not just for one particular group of people a lot of times, but for all people. You see what I'm saying? So
right,
I
for everybody.
Like you said, to bring home the point that you just mentioned, we have to start getting going to these meetings, joining these organizations that are out here promoting right causes, because nothing's going to change, like you said, with us sitting here talking about it. It's good.
Right.
I mean, that's the first step of anything, like solving any issue, is dialogue. But we got to get past the point to where we're not just about dialogue, because it sounds good to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? It's all well and good to talk about it. But if we're not willing to go out there and hit the pavement and put in the work to start to, see some type of change, then we're really wasting our time.
Right. I 100% completely agree.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
But like
I got to get up off of here, man. I got to get up off of here. I do have to run, but as a final thought, I just tell people to be very conscious over what you do. Be very conscious of not so much being a consumer, but making some of these business live up to their social responsibility as businesses and economic institutions, and just become proactive. I encourage everybody who's listening, anybody who's listening, to definitely call in, and if you have any suggestions over things that we can possibly do, definitely leave those suggestions so that we can become.
You can email us, or you can email me at ucofw@live.com, and just, if you want to help us out, just send us a message. And I know a lot of people that on Blog Talk Radio hit us up, or just get in contact with us, any meeting that we have. I'm actually going to wrap the show up. I just want to get on here for about an hour, kind of talk about this issue. We will be back with part 2 of this, hopefully within the next week. But we got a lot of good stuff coming up, so be sure just to check us out, and we will talk to you soon.
All right.
All right. Right.
It was nice talking to you.
You are now listening